Hello, this is CJ Wells, property manager here in the Denver, Colorado metro area with Invalesco Real Estate. I just want to give you an update on some breaking news today, Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, as far as a federal judge ruling that the eviction moratorium is unconstitutional and unlawful. Let's take a look at some of the articles that have come out. But first, let's take a quick look at my LinkedIn profile. Here I am. If you want to contact me and communicate with me, CJ Wells, property manager, realtor at Invalesco Real Estate. I manage, protect, and care for your property as much as you do. So let's take a look at those articles. Here we are, Wall Street Journal, national eviction moratorium thrown out by federal judge. Now we're going to look at a couple of news outlets to give you, because every news outlet has their own bias and their own slant. So that's why I'm going to look at the Wall Street Journal, and the other is a Breitbart newspaper. National eviction moratorium. So the federal judge throws the CDC out, stating that the CDC exceeded their authority, and by all laws that have been written and used for many decades, that's absolutely true. CDC exceeds authority with ban on evictions for tenants amid the COVID pandemic. The Justice Department is appealing the ruling. Now, this is the DOJ. The Department of Justice does not like this ruling. Why not? As landlords and investors, you may ask yourself that. And we're going to be talking about two sides of the equation of any investments. You need the gazina and the gazauda. The gazina is the monthly rents. The gazauda is the is the mortgage payment to the lenders and other creditors to maintain that property and to keep it rented. That's how the equation works. You have two sides. If you don't have two sides, the equation fails and you lose your investment property. That's pretty simple. So let's take a look at a little bit of what he said. A federal judge threw out national eviction moratorium Wednesday, May 5th, after concluding it was legally unsupportable, upending a COVID relief measure that has protected millions of tenants, not landlords or investors, but tenants. And of course, created hardships for landlords and also property managers. Hello, since property managers, we do enforce contracts. That is pretty much what a realtor does, is they enforce contracts between two private parties, not a unknown third entity like CDC. The CDC, citing public health grounds, had extended the moratorium. By the way, that eviction moratorium would never end. It would never end by anyone except a federal judge. So they extended the moratorium through June, and it would have been extended again. I'm just telling you guys, since I know how this stuff works. I'm old, so I know how this stuff works. Through June for tenants who had fallen behind on their rent during the pandemic. But a series of conflicting lower court rulings had previously called into question the measure's legality. And Wednesday, May 5th's decision is perhaps the biggest blow to Washington's efforts. Now, who is Washington? Who is that Washington? Is that the current administration? Is it our politicians who we supposedly elect? Who is Washington that they're mentioning here? That's pretty vague. Blow to Washington's efforts to provide eviction protections. The moratorium originated from an executive order signed by President Donald Trump in September of 2020. Yes. Judge Dabney Frederick of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, D.C., said that while it was the role of the political branches of government to address the pandemic, current federal law on public health didn't give the CDC broad authority to impose the moratorium, since the CDC is not a law creation or enforcement agency. Oh, and this video here of this lady Landlord braces for impact as more tenants cannot pay rent. This lady here, I don't know, maybe she's Muslim or something because she wears that head thing, but she's a widow. Her and her husband apparently invested in rental properties as investors because in this day and age, none of us have pensions that are paid to us by our employers. I don't know an employer really that pays pensions anymore, except maybe who's that credit card? Visa Financial. They still have pensions, I think, for their employees. They did when I was still contracting with Visa. But most other companies do not. I have a friend who is a retired United Airlines pilot, and his pension, well, it just evaporated. And none of those retired pilots have ever received a pension, even though they put money into it. It just evaporated. So just because a company has a pension to pay you, it doesn't mean that it will be there when you retire. So anyway, so real estate is a great investment, a great retirement investment tool. But this lady here, that's what she tells the story. She owns 14 doors, or 14 properties anyway. I'm not sure the number of doors. And she is collecting less than half of her rent payments, which means the bank just picks up a bunch of free real estate, basically. Now, statistically, from what I've read, there is about 70% of the rental product in this country, in the United States, 70% is owned by little mom and pop landlord investors, of which she is one. And how would a big Wall Street REIT firm get a hold of all of that product? Get it out of the hands of the 70% of mom and pops? Well, you just break that equation. There's no gazina, so you can't have a gazauda. And the gazina is the rent payments, and the gazauda is the mortgage payment. You can't make the mortgage payment, then guess what? The bank gets that 70% of product that is in the United States. And it's owned by Wall Street now. So because the plain language of the Public Health Service Act unambiguously forecloses the nationwide eviction moratorium, the court must set aside the CDC order, says Judge Friedrich. The judge set aside the moratorium on a nationwide basis, rejecting a Justice Department request that any adverse ruling apply only to the housing providers and realtors associations who brought the case. The ruling could make it easier for landlords to evict tenants who are in arrears. It is also a setback to the current administration efforts to synchronize the moratorium's planned expiration at the end of June with a distribution of nearly 50 billion in rental assistance authorized by Congress. The ruling also may embolden more state and local court systems to stop enforcing the eviction moratorium. In a Texas court decided not to extend its enforcement of the CDC moratorium in its eviction courts. Evictions resumed in some parts of the state as a result. So Texas is getting back to the lawful conduct of the country, of a state, as is Florida and some other states. And you know that I am a member of the National Association of Residential Property Management, that's NARPM. And NARPM has a lawsuit in conjunction with other landlords to sue the CDC. So this is going on all over the place, but this is a very good landmark. So the Justice Department, who sounds like in this article is not our friend, if you are a landlord or investor, it is not our friend. And ultimately, they're not the friend of a tenant, because if we landlords, property managers, and investors, if we cannot keep the property up, it quickly begins to look like, what's that part of New York? The Bronx. It looks like it's a bombed out, burned out city. That's what happens when rents are not paid. Your city looks like a bombed out hull. So the Justice Department appealed Wednesday, ruling hours after it was released to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit. The department also said it intended to seek an emergency stay of the ruling, which, if granted, will keep the moratorium in place for now. So scientific evidence, okay, this is from the acting head of the Justice Department. Scientific evidence shows that the evictions exacerbate the spread of COVID, which has already killed more than 500,000 Americans, and the harm to the public that would result from unchecked evictions cannot be undone, said the Justice Department's Civil Division. Now, that's scientific evidence. I have never seen it. I have not seen it. If you have, please feel free to post the link below in this YouTube channel, or in the chat comments. Please send me the scientific evidence that this gentleman is quoting. So that's how it goes. Let's look at the other article. This is Breitbart. This is a different view, a different slant. So the federal judge says national ban against COVID-related evictions illegal. So let's read this. February 26. Why was this released? Strange. Okay, so a federal judge, which is May the 5th, 2021, unless these newspapers get the scoop on this months ahead of time and it flows downhill here to us little landlords and property managers. Who knows? That's what it looks like. A federal judge in Texas has ruled that the federal government cannot prohibit landlords from evicting residents who are unable to pay their rent due to the COVID hardship. U.S. District Judge John Baker's decision goes against a national eviction ban first established under former President Trump and extended by the current administration. The legal challenge was brought by landlords who argued the mandate by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Congress is unconstitutional. Many of us don't understand or even know the Constitution. Well, these guys are right. This whole eviction moratorium is unconstitutional. Although the COVID persists, so does the Constitution. Go figure. I guess the Constitution has persisted for 250 plus years now, right? Go figure. I wonder why that is. So this is what the judge wrote. He also said that the government authority in ordering the ban resembles in operation prohibited federal police power, which is also true. That's what police power looks like. There's no voting, there's no legislators, there's no representation, there's just, well, I guess mandates. In December, New York approved a statewide moratorium on evictions and foreclosures for 6 months. The court ordered today holding the CDC's interference with private property rights, which is what the Constitution does. It protects our private property rights in this country. That's why so many foreigners like to invest here. Is under the veil of COVID, serves as notice to the current administration that the Constitution limits government power. Kimberly Herman, an attorney at the Southeastern Legal Foundation, told The Hill. Okay, so this is an article from February 26, which reinforces this current Wednesday, May the 5th, 2021, ruling by a federal judge. So can you see a trend here? So the states are taking control and the federal judge are taking control. So the tide is turning. The fight is not over. Our private property rights do need to be protected per the Constitution. That's why we have the Constitution. That's why we have our investments. And that's why we have the affluence in this country that we have. It's because of property rights and the Constitution and laws. Let me stop sharing this. Okay, we're back. So that's just an update. This is for Wednesday, May 5th of the national eviction moratorium being struck down as unconstitutional and illegal by a federal judge. So thank you so much. This is CJ Wells, property manager, and we'll be chatting with you later. Thanks. Bye.